Now a different subject, and a difficult subject for this Congress, I can see from what already has been said. President, 2 years ago at Bundoran, you were also discussing the then named Reform Treaty, which is now called the Lisbon Treaty. And on the margins of that Congress, I remember well, you were putting the squeeze on Bertie Ahern not to support the UK in its drive to limit the Charter of Fundamental Rights. You won that one. It wasn't easy, but you won it. And the wider issue is now back with us, as you well know. We've got this Lisbon Treaty and the referendum in Ireland on October 2. Now, as a Briton, I wouldn't presume to try telling the Irish what to do. I think only St. Patrick and perhaps Jack Charlton ever did that very successfully, and I'm not up there with St. Pat and St. Jack, and I certainly don't want to emulate Nicolas Sarkozy either when he expressed his views to Ireland. But as the General Secretary of the ETUC, and that counts your Congress as a most valued member of the ETUC, and speaking today as a European, I owe it to you to be clear and frank about where we stand on the EU constitutional issues so that you can take that into account when you all come to make your decisions in the run-up to October 2. And that's particularly the case because I've been quoted in pitiless detail by some in Ireland when it has suited them to do so. So I want to make clear that the ETUC supports the ratification of the Lisbon Treaty, and I hope that the Irish people approve it. It didn't deliver all we wanted by a long chalk. It missed some opportunities to reinforce social Europe, but we've also said that it's a step forward compared to the existing treaties and provisions we've got, and particularly in relation to the legal enforcement of the Charter of Fundamental Rights, which has got commitments to collective bargaining, the right to strike across Europe, which I think are a big improvement on anything we've got at the present time. There's commitments to full employment. There's commitments to the social market rather than the liberal market economy, which we in the English-speaking world have so lauded in recent years. And there's commitments to public services, and a very, very important part. I know some public service unions are particularly wary about Europe, but there's a commitment to public services, and anyone who goes to Germany, Holland, the Nordic countries, and so on, this is not a European Union that denigrates public services. These are the best public services in the world. And you can see them at a glance, the quality of the public transport, the health services, the local government services, the civil services, and so on in those northern European countries, and increasingly too in the southern European countries. So we see we want a Europe that's ambitious with a springboard for further action. And we are proud of what we've managed to achieve despite the kind of opposition that we've had, including from some people who should be our political friends. Just remember this, we won equal rights for agency workers. That was a big step for Ireland and a big step for the UK. We won stronger European Works Councils. So you can't say that social Europe, nothing's happening, it's inert in some way. We want Europe to move forward. We want it not to be bogged down in institutional wrangling, particularly in these perilous economic times. We're campaigning for a social progress protocol, seeking to rebalance the 4 decisions of the European Court of Justice, the Laval and Viking cases, some of you know a lot about that, and which we believe have subordinated fundamental rights to the economic freedoms, free movement provisions of the EU. You had a taste of this in the Irish ferries case. And these judgments are based on the existing treaties, not on the Lisbon Treaty, and we believe that the newly enforceable Charter of Fundamental Rights will be a step in our direction to put these things right. And there's no conditionality in the ETUC's support for Lisbon. And here I come to the heart of the argument about Europe, because it's not an a la carte menu where you pick and choose what you want. It's a package that I believe has done great things for Ireland and for many other countries. And I think it's going to be called upon to do a lot more for Ireland and for many other countries before we exit from this perilous economic crisis. European solidarity is going to be essential in the face of the crisis and in support of the hardest hit economies. And the adoption of the Lisbon Treaty helps, not hampers, that process of solidarity. One reason, incidentally, why the British Conservatives detest it so much. Anyway, the treaty is in the hands of the Irish people, and the eyes of the whole of Europe will be on you when you go to the polls on October 2. 25 countries have made their decision, and you will make yours. And to those of you who are minded to vote no, and I know for sincere trade union reasons in very many cases, but just before you vote no, just have a look at some of those in the rest of Europe who are praying for the same result. The British Conservatives I've already mentioned. The narrow, blinkered nationalists who put their own country first, second, and last. And beyond them, the racists and the fascists of the sort we're seeing come into the fore in some parts of the United Kingdom. You know, Europe is far from perfect, but it is a far, far better deal for working people than any of that lot will ever offer.